that this body in the museum is of her son. Kim Eric Smith is the mother of Christopher Todd Eric. In 2012, her son passed away under unusual circumstances. She believed that he was poisoned with cyanide and then his body was sold. When Kim saw this body in the museum, she said mother's instinct, she knew that it was her son.
What's up, YouTube? Welcome back to my channel. How you guys doing? If you guys are brand new here to the channel, you guys don't know what we're doing, don't worry, I'm gonna break it down for you guys, man. We talk about the most scariest and creepiest videos on the net, on the web, from YouTube videos to TikTok videos, IG reels, Facebook, anything weird, usual, and unexplained you can find right here on this channel. I just want to thank all my supporters, man, who's coming back to the channel each and every single day, watching the videos entirely, man, commenting down below, most importantly, hitting that thumbs up button on each and every single video drop. You guys are helping growing the channel. I really appreciate the support. Found this video for you guys today, man. Let's do best seekers. Say it with me, y'all. Seek the truth.
Normal looking photos that have a disturbing backstory. The girl in this photo was arrested for torturing and killing animals. She filmed herself doing it and even posted it online. She hanged her dogs by their collars, nailed them to walls, and even shot them with an airsoft gun. She would then cut them open and rip out their internal organs. This sweet looking little girl is Jeannie, also known as the Wild Child, who spent the first 13 years of her life chained to a chair, and this photo was taken moments after she'd just been rescued. This normal-looking scenic painting features the ocean with the night sky. However, it was painted by Adolf Hitler, whose dream in life was to become an artist. However, he failed the entrance exam to art school and ultimately gave up. This photo of Richard Hickok and Perry Smith shows two murders after hearing that they'd been sentenced to death. They murdered a family of 4 and planned to rob them, but they found nothing worth stealing except for a mere $50. The girl on the left is wearing a wire. The girl on the right has no idea. Together they stabbed one of their friends to death, and the girl on the left confessed to the police and is now cooperating with them. Besides the pixelation, this looks like a couple getting married surrounded by their loved ones. However, all the children in this photo were horribly physically and mentally abused until a couple of them managed to escape. Nobody has been able to explain this creepy viral video. For the past 11 years, a man who runs a TikTok account by the name of Dude, My House is Haunted has been pretty confident that there has been some paranormal activity within his home. He claims that ever since his wife passed away, there have been some strange and unusual things going on. So eventually he decided to leave cameras out and record what was happening and post it onto TikTok, which is the footage that you are about to see. In this video you can see a chair seemingly moving on its own. It moves somewhat slowly until it suddenly is violently pulled into the corner by the kitchen. A mysterious shadowy figure can be seen moving behind the chair, and then suddenly out of nowhere the chair is thrown into the kitchen. Now of course we're not really sure what happened in this video, but I'm having a hard time coming up with an explanation for this one.
I think I have the explanation for you. I think it's called an edit. I think that one is cap. I don't just believe that one, man. Just the chair just getting thrown around, acting all flimsy. I'm gonna have to call cap on that one. My personal opinion.
Scary Unexplained Mysteries Part 2. Let's go. It had been over a month since Pauline Picard was reunited with her family, and everything was peaceful, until something horrifying was found that reopened the whole entire case. A man who was biking near the Picard household came across what appeared to be the dead corpse of a child, along with the skull of an adult man. And worst of all, the clothes that Pauline Picard was wearing the day she disappeared were found folded neatly next to the dead bodies. This sent the village into yet another panic, and it caused the Picard family to wonder if the girl they had living with them was even their daughter. The family eventually concluded that the girl that was living with them was not their daughter, and they returned her back to where she came from. Not knowing where else their daughter could be, the Picard family eventually accepted that the body found near their house most likely belonged to Pauline. Authorities have never been able to track down the murderer, and to this day, nobody knows for sure who the body in the skull in the meadow belongs to. Maybe she's still out there.
Maybe, but who's that girl with them?
There are 4 signs that you could be a psychopath. Number 1, you get bored easily. You always need a sense of excitement in your life, and you get this by taking extreme risks or even playing with other people's minds. Number 2, you're more rational than others. As long as you're not bored, you don't really care about negative emotions such as grief or anxiety. This allows you to stay calm in a crisis, and even when your own life is in danger. Number 3, you lie a ton and you don't know why. You lie even when there's nothing to gain from lying. Sometimes you lie just because of the pleasure that you derive from doing so. 4, you never own up to your actions. Even when you know it's your fault, you still decide to blame it on others. And despite this, you never feel guilt.
I got any of those traits to be a psychopath then? I don't think I exhibit any. But if you lie a lot, I didn't know that was the path to being a psycho. Don't lie.
A worldwide police notice has been issued for a missing college student who traveled from the US to the Dominican Republic for spring break. And despite a massive search being underway, she is still nowhere to be found 6 days later. Sudiksha Kunaki, who is only 20 years old and studying medicine at Pittsburgh University, went to the beach with a group of friends after clubbing at about 5 a.m. After about an hour, most of the group called it a night and headed back to the hotel. But Sudiksha stayed with the guy that they met while they were out, named Joshua Wright from Iowa, USA. In fact, this was the last known security footage of Sudiksha headed to the beach. It looks like she was quite drunk and unstable and in the arms of the guy who is believed to be Joshua. The two of them reportedly went swimming in the ocean together and the waves were pretty rough. Now, Joshua gave authorities 3 different accounts of what happened next. The first being that he was hit by a big wave and started to feel sick. He asked her if she was okay before going back to the shore and passing out on the sand. When he woke up, she had vanished, and she's never been seen since. The second account was that before he fell asleep, he saw her in knee-deep water. And the third account being that he saw her walking along the shore before he passed out. Now, sources say that translation issues could have been the reason for those differences. Authorities have speculated that Sudiksha may have drowned, but because they still have not found her body on land or at sea, they released this worldwide missing persons police notice. Yesterday, her father called on authorities to expand search efforts because he is growing concerned that she was kidnapped or trafficked since her body never washed ashore. Now, police say that there were no signs of violence and that Joshua is not considered to be a suspect at this time. But of course, as we know more, I'll keep you guys updated.
Weird human...
You gotta be careful, man, when we're going out, especially, man. That's why, personally, I don't try to, like, drink a lot, because I like to be aware of my surroundings. I always like to know what's going on, especially if you're, like, near a body of water, too. Yeah, when you drink, man, your judgment get impaired, and you can't really judge situations, so hopefully, man, they find her.
body facts that I can guarantee you didn't know. When a baby is born, its blood volume can actually fit inside of a can of soda. When you blush, the lining of your stomach also blushes. And that's kind of weird, but it's even more weird to think about, like, how the fuck do we know that? 1 out of 5,000 children are born without an asshole, and the doctors have to create one for them. And it's a really weird birth defect to have because we literally start out as assholes.
I never knew that. Doctors have to make an
There are
asshole.
things Disney doesn't want you to know. Part 3. So today I'm going to be talking about the mysterious case of Deborah Gale Stone, aka Debbie Stone. Debbie Stone was an 18-year-old hostess at Disney. She was a hostess for the ride America Sings, which was a musical performance. This was a new attraction, and basically you'd be sitting in a theater facing the stage, and after every act, the theater would rotate. In 1974, during the last performance of the night, Debbie got caught between the rotating wall and the stationary stage wall. She was instantly crushed to death. The scary part is that the audience heard her screams but thought that it was part of the show. Now, the big mystery is, how did she get caught in the first place? Some say that she fell between the two walls, others say that she was trying to jump from one stage to another and then got caught, and other people think that she was pushed. On that day, Debbie had just gotten engaged and was super excited and was showing all her coworkers her ring. Apparently one of them was really jealous, but to this day we sadly still don't know what truly happened to Debbie. Make sure to like for part 4.
What happened?
An explosion rocked the campus in Lubbock, Texas. Fire and smoke erupting from underground. Students rushed to safety as power outages spread across campus. Firefighters flooded the scene, battling blazing manholes as officials scrambled to contain the crisis. Texas Tech shut down the school for the rest of the week, urging students to go home early for spring break. The cause still unknown. But with the entire campus losing power, the investigation is just beginning.
Sources are now saying.
Why was the fire freaking a neon color? That's my questioning. That's what's going on, man. I know, man, we haven't been treating the environment right, but neon fire? That's not a good sign. It's really not. Thankfully, nobody was hurt, but what's going on, bro? Neon Fire? We're going to have to check into that expeditiously.
Saying that Hugh Jackman will also be deposed for the Blake Lively-Justin Baldoni case if it goes to trial. So reportedly, Justin Baldoni's legal team wants to get the full scope of Ryan Reynolds' conduct during the time that It Ends With Us was filming. And part of that will be deposing Hugh Jackman, Ryan Reynolds' co-star in Deadpool and Wolverine, and a friend of Blake Lively and Reynolds. An insider reportedly said Hugh will be deposed if this goes to trial. There's no way that he cannot. The source also pointed out how Hugh Jackman helped promote It Ends With Us in, quote, the same way that Taylor did when they did their group shoot for the cross promo with Deadpool. The source said the timing of the premieres is also no coincidence. Honestly, it would not be surprising if Hugh Jackman is deposed because Deadpool and Wolverine was filming around the same time as It Ends With Us, and so Ryan Reynolds and Hugh Jackman were spending a lot of time together, and likely with Blake Lively as well. So if he has any information that could help Justin Baldoni's team, they will utilize that. Again, none of this is happening anytime soon. Depositions are part of the process before a trial, so if the trial does happen in 2026 as it is currently set to, then depositions will be happening, and Hugh Jackman and Taylor Swift could be some of those deposed. There's a mother in Texas that is adamant that this body in the museum is of her son. Kim Eric Smith is the mother of Christopher Todd Eric. In 2012, her son passed away under unusual circumstances. She believed that he was poisoned with cyanide and that his body was sold. Initially, authorities said that he passed away due to natural causes. But months later, Kim was notified by the medical examiner that her son's blood contained lethal doses of cyanide. When Kim saw this body in the museum, she said mother's instinct, she knew that it was her son. Here's a photo of them side by side. Not only that, but the body and Eric's had similar scarring, which is really freaky if you ask me. All Kim wants to do is to shed light on this and to bring her son's body home and have a proper burial. If this is true and his body is on display for financial gains and was sold off to the museum, that's insane.
The things people do for money, man. If that's her son's body, she deserves to take him home. People be hard about it. That's not. We've been hearing horror stories about that, so she think that's her son. She deserves a chance.
Disturbing facts that will ruin your life. When whales reach a certain age, they will eventually be too weak to swim back to the surface for air, so they will just suffocate to death and eventually sink to the bottom of the ocean. When you die, you will be aware that you are dead until the moment your brain fully ceases function. When getting laser eye surgery, you can smell the parts of your eyes being shaved down. During the French Revolution, where the guillotine was introduced, the people to be executed fought to be first, as the blade would dull after multiple uses, and wouldn't cut a head clean off at the first attempt. If you're male, after you die, your loved ones can have a doctor electrocute your prostate to force you to ejaculate for sperm. Humans have enough bite power to bite off their own finger, bone and all. The only thing stopping us is our brain's natural safety factor. A deceased human body can take between 24 to 48 hours to decompress, releasing the remaining blood, urine, and fecal matter, depending on the situation, position, and method of death. If you die on a submarine, they put your body in the fridge with all the food. If not, up a torpedo tube. It's actually common that corpses will periodically burp, fart, gasp, groan as gases escape through the mouth and anus. When you get burned by electricity, it actually leaves marks shaped like lightning on your skin. Hit the plus sign if you want to learn more facts.
We learned a whole lot of facts in that short amount of time.
Scientists did to themselves. Henry Smolinski was tired of working his job as an engineer, so he decided to quit and pursue his dream, which was to make the world's first flying car available for anyone in the world to purchase. His plan was to take a Ford Petma and put it together with the tail and wings of a Cessna Skymaster plane. After a bunch of successful test flights, the public launch was only a few months away. But one day, when Henry and his co-founder was doing further testing, they came crashing down. Due to bad welds and bad locking mechanisms, the wings failed and they crashed. Unfortunately, everyone in the flying car passed away.
Here's some crazy things that people originally resisted. Streaming services were laughed at first, with TV networks insisting nobody would ever want to watch movies or shows on the internet. Online dating was considered desperate by people in the 90s and early 2000s, thinking only the socially inept would meet partners on the internet. Self-checkouts were seen as confusing, with the early users insisting they were slower and less convenient than real cashiers. Movies with sound were considered a gimmick, with silent film actors, critics, and audiences in the 1920s thinking talkies would never replace cinema. They were wrong. The Walkman was ridiculed by critics in the 1980s, insisting that nobody would ever want to listen to music alone on the go. Ebooks were hated by book lovers, with many refusing to believe digital reading could ever match the feel of paper. Airplanes were thought impossible, with respected scientists in the early 1900s claiming humans would never achieve powered flight, just 2 years before the Wright brothers proved them wrong. Cars were mocked as impractical, with people in the early 1900s calling them a passing fad because horses were way more reliable.
Which of these facts is...
Could you imagine, like, if each one of those speaking people, they could see what's happening there in the future, how mind blown they would be. All the things they thought wouldn't happen actually came to pass. So you can't ever dismiss something, man. If somebody has an idea, no matter how crazy it sounds, man, it could actually end up happening.
The hardest to believe. According to statistics, lightning strikes men 7 more times than women. About 50% of the people in the world have never had a phone conversation. Just 1 drop of liquor can make a scorpion stab itself to death. A shark can detect 1 drop of blood from 100 million drops of water. Astronauts are forbidden from eating beans before going into space. If the sun exploded right now, we would not know for another 8 minutes. Who came first, the chicken or the egg? Check the comment section for the answer. For more.
You were today
chicken,
at home
right?
and you found this shit out. I'm so sorry. It shows that redheads are actually less sensitive to anesthesia, making them most likely to wake up during surgery. I've never been happier, to be blunt. I'm so glad I don't eat pistachios, and here's why. Have you ever eaten one and thinking, that one tasted a little strange? Chances are that's probably because the navel orange worm was inside of it. The chances of worms being inside pistachios are higher than you think. But today is all when you found out how to stay fit during lockdown. And these tough bullshit times. Click the link in my bio right now. It'll take you to an app called Verve. Pop in some basic information. Tell the app exactly what you want to work on, even if it's just love myself. I'll give you a personalized workout plan, diet plan, whatever. Trust me, this shit works. You're welcome. And finally, bathtubs are opposite boats. My brain. Let's make a deal. If you didn't know any of these or any of them shocked you, you have to share it. Elon, this is the scary truth about iPhones.
Okay.
iPhones actually listen to everything that you say. And it's pretty creepy. This is why if you're ever talking about something with your friends, then suddenly whatever you were talking about comes up on your timeline hours later, well, that's because your iPhone is listening to you. Next, your iPhone tracks you everywhere you go. This is how the iPhone knows how long it takes to get to places from where you are. If you want proof, go to your settings and then hit privacy, then click location services at the top, and it will most likely say on. It's pretty creepy that they can hear and track everything we do, and I mean everything, because who doesn't have their phone on them nowadays?
Yo, it's...
Okay, I've noticed that. I've noticed that can't be coincidence. You know, sometimes you talk about something and then you search something up on Google, it just pops up in the timeline. It's like, I was just talking about that and it just popped up out of nowhere, man. That's how, man, turn off the location. And like I said, when that option be popping up, I'll be like, turn off location. Now nobody need to know where I'm at. Nope. Turn that off. I need my iPhone to be tracking me, man. Should I switch to an Android? Down below. And if you got secrets of an Android or your team iPhone, I don't know. It's impossible nowadays, man, to have complete privacy on the phone. You know that?
Here's some scary facts about our world that you probably didn't want to know. Part 44. There is a type of shark species known as the Greenland shark that can live upwards of 200 years. One, because it is adapted to the cold water in the Arctic Ocean, and the second reason is because it'll eat anything that falls in the water. That means polar bears, penguins, and anything up above. If you were to travel to space in a spaceship, traveling the speed of light, let's say at age 15, when you came back 5 years later, you would be 20, but all of your friends, well, they'd be 65.
There is a condition known as the Cotard syndrome, otherwise known as the walking corpse syndrome, in which people suffer from believing that they have never existed and that they have been dead this whole time. If you go to a Catholic priest and tell him that you murdered somebody, they can't say a word because of Catholic law, and they will keep your secret. Please don't get any ideas.
Really? I wonder how many, like I said, how many people know that they did something, man, but they just haven't told the police yet because it's the law. I guess, yeah.
I want to tell
That's
you
interesting.
an emotional story, a real, authentic one. Hundreds of years ago, in an era when the Middle East was ruled by powerful kingdoms, there lived a mighty king. But despite his strength, he had a weakness, his temper. Every night, the king was haunted by the same nightmare. He would dream of losing all his teeth at once. The moment he wakes up, he rushes to check his jaw and see if his teeth are there. Night after night, the same terrifying vision tormented this king. He was desperate for answers, so he summoned the kingdom's finest dream interpreters, maesters, in this field. The first interpreter arrives, and the king tells him, "O wise one, every night in my sleep I dream of losing all my teeth. What does it mean?" The interpreter hesitated and says, "My lord, this is a bad dream. It means that you will lose all your loved ones." The king's face twisted with anger. "Woe to you! Seize him and lock him away." A second dream interpreter was brought in, and the king repeated his question. The interpreter said, "My lord, I regret to say, you will witness the death of all your family members." The king raged once more. "Seize him," he roared. Then the third interpreter was brought in.
Same thing?
"O wise one, I dream every night of something horrible. I dream of losing all my teeth at once. What does this dream mean?" the king asks. The interpreter smiles and spoke with confidence. "Rejoice, my king, for you have been blessed with a long life. You will live the longest from all your family members." The king's eyes brightened, and he rewarded the man with gold. Yet, all three interpreters said the same thing. The same thing. The meaning never changed, only the way it was said. This teaches us a very important lesson. It's not about what you say, but how you say it.
Very important, man.
We just got our first official trailer for Bambi the Reckoning, which of course is a part of the Pooniverse, and or the Twisted Childhood universe, directed by the same people who made Winnie the Pooh Blood and Honey, Winnie the Pooh Blood and Honey 2, and Peter Pan Neverland Nightmare. We already kind of knew the design for Bambi, but I'm not gonna lie, I thought there was gonna be more than one. But it looks like we're just gonna be getting one sick and twisted, pretty much undead deer hunting people, breaking into houses as well. In the trailer, you more or less saw the premise of the movie as well, which has to do with one man that's trying to hunt down this undead Bambi, and pretty much using his own family as fodder, which I can't lie, is kind of cold. And as we know, the Pooniverse Monsters Assemble is supposed to be releasing this year, which has to do with a massive mashup of all of the different movies made by the same people that made the Twisted Childhood universe. So of course we're going to be getting characters like Bambi, Winnie the Pooh, Tigger, the Mad Hatter, Piglet, and even Pinocchio. Because if you haven't been following along, we're going to be getting a movie called Pinocchio Unstrung as well. Pretty much has to do with Pinocchio wanting to be a real boy. Just looks terrifying. The only thing they didn't show in this trailer was the fact that there was going to be undead rabbits, which was said to be more or less like Bambi's posse, breaking into houses and unaliving people just in case Bambi couldn't get around him. But I can't lie, an undead zombified deer, this looks pretty good.
Tall Hat Man.
That's crazy that they coming up with that.
That people often say that they see at night in the room, and they say he often resembles Abraham Lincoln. And I have heard hundreds of reports and cases of people seeing this person that they describe looking like Abraham Lincoln with a large top hat. Now, my uncle, when he was a young boy, he said he was in his room one night, and he said he woke up to like a breeze blowing in to his room, which he thought was weird because he always like kept his window closed. When he looks over at his window, he said like the curtains were kind of blowing. He looked back the other way, and then when he looked back at the window again, he said there was a tall man
standing next to the window. And he said he looked just like Abraham Lincoln, except this man was actually standing through his desk. And he said this man just stared at him, and he got this big grin on his face. My uncle was like so terrified he threw the covers over his head, and then he woke up the next day, he was gone. And still to this day, he does not know who that was that he saw. This next story comes out of Virginia. There was this woman, she said that she had went to her grandmother's house when she was younger to stay for a couple weeks. And she said when she would go to her grandma's, she didn't have an extra bedroom, so she would have to sleep out on the couch. So that night, she said, you know, she got ready to go to bed. And like, she, you know, went and laid down on the couch.
Yeah.
And she said all of a sudden she was awoken to the sound of her grandma talking in her sleep from her bedroom. And she said she goes to her bedroom and she hears her grandma saying, "He's coming, he's coming. No, 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 he's coming." And she is like, "Grandma, you okay? Grandma, you okay?" Her grandma, you know, was just sleeping. So she's like, you know, she must be having a bad dream or whatever. She goes back to her couch. She lays down. And she said, you know, she finally fell asleep. Well, she has this dream. And she says in this dream, she is outside of the house, which happens to be near the woods. And she starts walking through the woods. And she says as she's walking through the woods, she keeps hearing someone chanting, "He's coming, he's coming."
Her grandma.
And she said it just kept getting louder and louder. And she said all of a sudden she found herself back at her grandma's house. She goes up to the back door, and she said she walked inside to the living room. And she said she could see a man standing next to her on the couch, dressed like Abraham Lincoln, with this big, tall top hat. And she said he was just staring at her. She woke up immediately after this, and she said she looked around the room. She didn't see anything. She said the next day, in the morning, her grandma tells her, you know, "I had the craziest dream." She said, "Well, what's that, Grandma?" She said, "I dreamt that some man was staring at you on the couch in this tall black hat."
Damn, were the dreams connected? Both was dreaming the same dream. That's how much of a coincidence that would have to be to happen. Probably some truth behind that. The hat man.
She was beaten to death with a cinder block, and nobody knows who did it. Hello, true crimers. This is the case of Frances Bemis. Viewer discretion is advised. Frances Bemis had a pretty busy life. She had gone to college in Georgia and also in California. She then became a department store public relations executive and also a fashion consultant. After she retired from that, she found herself in St. Augustine, Florida, and she owned the Maria Sanchez Apartments. Frances was a member of the Humane Society, she was a part of the local art association, and she also was a very vocal person when it came to human rights. And she was an activist for the black community there in Florida. On November 3rd, 1974, the 70-year-old woman would take her nightly walk around St. Augustine, but on this particular occasion, she would not come home. Armed only with a flashlight, she always felt safe in this neighborhood. But the morning after, police were called because they found Frances's body. She was found just by this vacant lot near some just piles of dirt. And it was more than obvious that she had been bludgeoned over the head with a small cinder block. And she was beat several times. And she had been partially set on fire. It's honestly kind of unbelievable that nobody discovered this until the following morning. Allegedly, sometime around 7 p.m. the night that Frances would have been attacked, there were some people who called the police saying they heard some loud noises and the sounds of someone choking. Police allegedly went out, but they didn't find anything. So who knows if they even went to the right spot. Well, police then find out that, coincidentally, Frances was very good friends with a woman named Athalia Lindsley. Athalia had been found brutally murdered on the steps of her home just a few months prior to Frances's murder. Frances was very vocal about who she thought did it. Then she ends up dead herself. Eventually, Athalia's next-door neighbor was arrested and charged with her murder, and I don't believe they found any connection with him to Frances. Frances was just this sort of sweet, unassuming old lady. She didn't get involved in anything nefarious, and this may have just been an extremely random chance encounter she had, and she was just murdered by a random assailant. But who that person is, they have never found out. This happened in 1974. It's been almost 50 years. Whoever killed her is obviously very old now or possibly dead. Hopefully they're still alive. I don't know if they've tried pulling DNA from certain things or not, but if you have any information, you can call 888-277-8477.
Morbid Facts, Part 452. After just one date with him in 2018, Arizona woman Jacqueline Adis allegedly sent a man over 159,000 texts over a 10-month span. Some of the texts were incredibly disturbing threats like, "I'd make sushi out of your kidneys and chopsticks out of your hand bones. I'd wear your fascia in the top of your skull and your hands and feet." Adis was later arrested for trespassing inside the man's home while he was out of the country, but she was later declared mentally incompetent to stand trial and the charges were dropped. This is the 2,000-year-old skull of Mary Magdalene on display at St. Maximin Basilica in France. It's considered to be one of the most precious relics in all of Christendom. In 2008, 19-year-old Brandon Swanson drove his car into a ditch while driving home from a party. He called his parents and told them he was fine, but wasn't sure exactly where he was. Nearly 50 minutes into the call, he suddenly yelled, "Oh shit," and then went silent. He's never been seen nor heard from again.
No, I don't. 4 of them? Never heard about them before. This is my first time hearing about something like this.
The influencer that was caught stealing $500 worth of stuff from Target and then posting it on TikTok was caught stealing again from the same Target. So the first time she was arrested was in October, and then she went on TikTok and posted a video with a huge caption basically saying that it doesn't define her and that she's going to try to do better. Now, 2 weeks later, she's caught again at the same Target that she stole the first time, but instead of stealing $500 worth of stuff, this time it was only $200. I already spoke about why people are so invested in this story, and it has to do with her using the items that she steals in her videos to gain attention and create content. Now I'm kind of questioning if she's doing this on purpose, because the first time she stole, I went on her TikTok and she had around 320 something thousand followers. Now that I went back on her TikTok, she has 422,000 followers. It's crazy how social media works, because you can do something so stupid like this, but you can still gain attention, a following, and a platform.
So when did you...
She literally just said, you know what? Here go 2 more for y'all. Y'all know that LeBron meme, bro. She doubled back on it, man, and it seems like just because she came, it's spiking in popularity, man. It's like, it's kind of sad how sometimes society rewards you for doing things of that nature, man. Do something wrong and it goes viral, you gain a little bit of clout off of it, man. People, they just get addicted to that feeling, man. And she double backed on it. The thing is, like she said, she used the items in the video, so she's gonna get caught. She thought, well, she was gonna get away with it.
You realize you can already install new skills into your life. Anyone can be an expert in almost anything now without spending years learning it. Video editing, for example. Just a couple years ago, even if you had the most cutting-edge video editor on the market, you still needed to dedicate months, possibly even taking a whole course just to figure out how to use it. Today, insane AI video editors like Filmora 14 lets you do what decades-long professionals used to take years to learn by just clicking a few buttons. Take one-click smart short clips, for example, which takes a video identifies key moments and automatically compiles them into fully edited and engaging shorts. Just click, 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 and they're all there, and it's only getting better from here. The AI video enhancer takes your phone camera and upscales it to professional grade high definition video with, again, just a couple taps. Maybe we can finally upscale those blurry UFO videos. And you also got the AI portrait cutout, which can turn any video into a green screen. Let's be honest, old school green screens are clunky and inconvenient. Auto cutout in most editing apps today is splotchy and inconsistent at best. This perfectly cuts out any subject, any objects they're holding, and doesn't clash with similar colors on the person. So you can finally get over the dreaded invisible shirt syndrome. Seems obvious today, but I don't think you realize how painstaking cutouts like these were just a few years ago. Anyone could be a video editing expert in just a few days now. It's kind of scary to think about, but also the closest thing we currently have to human brain augmentation. This really is the first step to installing one-click kung fu into our minds, just like Neo. Download Filmora 14's free trial and just try to convince me the future isn't already here.
It's basically trying to say, man, the Matrix is already here, bro. You just one click, download, and you learn skills like that, or you don't even have to do it. It does it for you. Man, I'm telling you guys, AIs, it has some great applications, man, but sometimes it can be scary, man, the things it can do. Scary to think about. Expert level, we know what that is.
Morbid Facts, Part 453. Italian man Marco Mariolini earned the nickname Anorexic Hunter due to his disturbing fixation towards emaciated women. But he wasn't simply drawn to women who were already thin. He wanted to actively shape them into emaciation by pushing their bodies to extreme levels of malnutrition. He made his wife starve herself, making her lose more than 70 pounds until he eventually broke up with her once he got her pregnant. Marco then started dating a woman named Monica, whom he would punch in the stomach if she ate anything he considered excessive. He would even take her to nice restaurants where he would eat in front of her while she was forced to starve.
Cruel.
One day Monica had enough and attacked him with a hammer before later turning herself in, only to end up facing house arrest with her monstrous partner. Marco would end up fatally stabbing her 22 times in retribution, and only spent a few years in prison before being released in 2021. By the way, I have no idea what's going on with that facial hair. It's totally unrelated to the story. Trust me.
Plastic surgeries that went wrong. Saha Tobar.
This is
like
the
a doll.
scariest thing that could ever happen to you on the entire planet. Imagine living your entire life only to realise that it was all fake. This is 100% true and could happen to you. Time is relative. And if you're dreaming, it could actually only be 5 minutes in the real world, but it could feel like a whole day in the dream world, right? You've probably had a dream like that. So a while back, a young boy went to school. And this particular day, he was out in the playground and he got into a fight with some of the bullies there. It was quite a hefty fight. He got punched in the face and knocked down to the ground, but just managed to pick himself back up. After that, he decided to leave from the school because it was quite bad. Went to a new school and just carried on his life. He ended up being a very successful businessman, owning multiple businesses, having, you know, the dream life. 2 kids, all the dream cars, dream house, going on nice holidays every year, everything you could imagine. Till one day when it all changed. The guy was now in his 50s, so he'd lived his entire life, really, and had everything he ever wanted. And one night, laying on the couch watching TV with his family, he stared over at the light on the other side of the room, and he noticed it just looked strange. It didn't look like it had done before. It was almost blurry. It just didn't make any sense. And he became fixated on this every single day, every single night. He would sit there and stare at this lamp, trying to figure out what was going on with it, because it was almost 2D, and it just didn't make any sense. That was when the realization came that the lamp was never there. The lamp wasn't even real. His life flashed before his eyes, and the young boy then woke up on the playground after being beaten up by the bully. He was knocked out from the fight, and his mind had literally created this whole life just in his head in that 5 minutes where he was knocked out. But it felt like an entire life to him. So he woke up and was asking people, where are my kids? Where's my wife? Where's my car? What's going on? Everybody laughed at him. It was just like, you're literally a 10-year-old in school. What's going on? But this is genuinely real. This has actually happened to people, especially people who have been in comas. So what's to say we're not dead right now, and our minds are just creating this whole life that's not even real.
These are the most hot.
Interesting theory. I mean, I've never been knocked out before. so, or been, like I said, I guess sleep for that period of time, man. But hear that your mind, bro. You hear that the mind is a powerful thing, man. But to make a whole life, and he said he was knocked up for 5 minutes, man. His mind just made up a whole life, man, to pass that time. That's crazy to think about. Obviously, we could be dreaming right now and we don't even know. I need you guys to down below on that one, man. That's tripping my mind out.
Haunted places in Lebanon. You guys requested this. Starting at number 3, Grand Hotel Bassouf. This hotel was built in the 1930s and damaged by the war. First-timers in this abandoned building get unusual vibes inside. Some people heard whispers of unknown beings, and others claimed not hearing anything at all. But this place stands as one of the biggest abandoned hotels in the country. Number 2, the Hamdoun's Abandoned Synagogue, also known as the Last Temple. This place of worship belonged to the Lebanese Jewish community and was built in the early 20th century. This place is too spooky, even in the daytime. Some people believe that Jewish jinns still lurk around these halls, protecting their place of worship, and no one will dare visit at night. And finally, number 1, Hotel Amriya. By far, one of the most haunted buildings in Lebanon. This place dates back to the 1960s, and it was famous for its theater and indoor cinema. Years later, this place was used for satanic rituals and black magic. Sometimes kids go there to communicate with jinns by playing the Ouija board. It is infested with bad energy and unknown beings. There are people that have seen figures, heard noises, and they have been physically touched inside. It's safe to say that whatever lurks in this building does not want to be disturbed. You tell me, what country should I do next?
X those hotels off the list, man. We learning, bro. If you go to Lebanon, don't go to any of those haunted hotels. Lesson learned, trust me. Things just never do.
This is officially
okay,
the last
that off the
day
list.
on Earth and the end of the world. If you're easily scared, please just keep on scrolling right now. Viewer discretion is advised. But yeah, tomorrow is officially the day of the solar eclipse, which me personally I don't think is a big deal. But according to many people on social media, it is the end of the world. But why? Over the last few days there's been a lot going on. Huge earthquakes all across the US, like way more than usual. That is like nuts. And across the world, in fact. There's now loads of weird stuff going on. There's a huge plague of cicadas and millions of other species which are going to America and going to infest everywhere. So if you live there, guys, have fun. Now tomorrow on the eclipse, CERN will be powering up their particle accelerator. And I mean, should we be concerned? Well, according to many sources, yes. There's been lots of videos emerging of CERN, and some of them are pretty weird. Like, I mean, just look at this, like what the hell is going on there? Now this thing is absolutely flipping huge, and absolutely flipping powerful. Apparently it's extremely destructive. One wrong move could cause a wormhole to open on Earth. We don't even know what could happen. There's so many theories about it. Now at the CERN headquarters, as you saw in that video, they literally have a giant Shiva statue, which is a bit odd. Which is, if you don't know, the god of destruction. Like, great. Now, although that video was deemed as fake and they say it was just like a prank and set up, who actually knows? But yeah, according to a lot of people, this is going to cause the end of the world tomorrow and a lot of bad stuff is going to happen. So yeah, make sure you hit that follow button and I'll keep you updated, and save this video, and let's come back tomorrow night.
This was supposed...
Who would even pull a prank like that, man, in front of Sharon? Maybe it's just to kind of throw suspicion, man. But they, like I said, their freaking statue is Shiva the Lord of Destruction, something like that. That's not something I would want my company to represent. So it's like they're trying to hide in plain sight. Be careful.
Supposed to be the happiest day of their lives, But hours after this beautiful wedding ceremony, Samantha Miller was killed. This tragic story is a reminder to not drink and drive. 34-year-old Samantha Miller and Eric Hutchinson got married in 2023 when only a few minutes after leaving their wedding ceremony, they were hit by a drunk driver. The driver, Jamie Lee Komorowski, was 3 times over the alcohol limit and was going 65 miles per hour in a 25 zone. Samantha and Eric, along with 2 other family members, were driving back home in a golf cart, which actually made the impact a lot more serious. Unfortunately, Samantha passed away still in her wedding dress, while Eric and the 2 other family members survived. Now, it's a miracle that everyone else survived, but their injuries were so severe that they say they can't even go back to doing the things they used to. And just a couple of days ago, Jamie was sentenced to 25 years in prison. Now, this case doesn't even end there, because the bride's mother, Elisa Miller, sued Eric, the bride's husband, for her daughter's estate. Lisa's attorneys are trying to challenge the validity of her daughter's marriage with Eric, saying that because they didn't spend the night together on the day of their wedding, the marriage is invalid. Eric offered to give Lisa half of the money to just put an end to the situation, but she refused, and she just wants everything. Can you imagine losing your significant other on your wedding day and then having to deal with that grief, and then also having to deal with your own personal physical injuries, and then on top of that, you're being sued by your wife's mother?
This is why you should.
I would cause, man. I would completely just break down. It's supposed to be the happiest day of your life, and it turned into the worst. Then on top of that, y'all fighting over money and stuff like that. He tried to give her half, and she still wasn't gonna take it. I don't know what to do, man. This sounds like a very, very bad situation to be in. Prayers to him and his family, and their whole family.
Should I communicate with the dead? A man who recently lost his father went to visit his resting place after lamenting his passing. Feeling frustrated for not being in contact with him for some time, he attempts to communicate with his spirit. Unable to get a response and filled with grief, he returns to his home. Then one night, while alone in his house, he hears someone or something coming from the kitchen.
Trying to communicate with spirits, I've only seen that go very badly. You hear that? Oh crap.
Feeling he may have invited something into his home, he begins to pray, demanding whatever's haunting him to leave his home. But on the next night, whatever that thing is decides to manifest itself in front of him.
Light ain't turning on. Is it? Like right in front of him? You saw that, right? It was literally like right in front of him, bro. I don't know if that was a spirit or something, or it could be an edit. You never know nowadays.
After a man went missing in Pennsylvania, what police discovered was traumatizing. David Hittinger was a 37-year-old man living in Pennsylvania. His friend contacted police earlier this month after becoming concerned for his welfare. He was reported missing after having not been seen in an unusual amount of time. It had apparently been his birthday, so it was incredibly strange that he hadn't contacted his friends at all. A search began to try and find David on the 13th of May. He was apparently last seen 2 days prior to this. Police began searching in locations that they knew that David may have been. This included the new home that he just moved into. He'd recently moved in with a 33-year-old named Joshua Moser. What police found at the property was incredibly concerning. They found forensic evidence including hair and a large amount of blood. Horrifyingly, they also found a box cutter and a saw. There was also bloody clothing in the house. They then widened the search to the local area and tragically found several body parts in bin bags in different locations. Some were in the cemetery and some were in a quarry in Washington Township. It's reported that Joshua allegedly admitted to killing his roommate by strangulation. He's also alleged to have admitted hitting him in the head with a hammer. A motive is currently unknown. Joshua has been charged with criminal homicide, abuse of a corpse, and tampering with evidence.
They heard strange noises coming from the restrooms, but as they go to check, this happens. A haunting video was uploaded by Ed Kukui, where a group of students are investigating strange noises in an empty restroom. An unknown banging sound can be heard, scaring the girls away. But as one of the girls decides to open the stall to see who's inside, they make a terrifying discovery.
No one.
The pale, lifeless body of the student can be seen in the corner of the stall as the girls run in fear. The figure appears to come out of thin air since the girls just looked inside. No one was seen. For this reason, viewers believe this apparition was the spirit of a student who now haunts the school.
The first girl was smart. She did this. I'm out. You're getting me today. Or do you think somebody could just put that there? Kind of look fake.
It's tough to say, but this picture could be the only one of the Blackwood Swamp Witch. But to give you some context on the photo, it was recovered from the phone of Roy Charleston in 2014, the same year that Roy had gone missing near or in Blackwood Swamp. While digging into the research on this, the reason Blackwood Swamp is significant is because people don't usually go into these woods. It's mostly because of these legends about the witch, these mysterious holographic symbols that tend to appear on the trees. You can find decades of records of people warning locals in the area to not go in to the swamp. But up to that point, nobody had really found anything in the woods other than like mysterious temples like this one, until they found Roy. Remains were located 4 days after his disappearance, and his throat had been sliced from end to end. The strange part about it is that it wasn't some kind of a weapon that was used to cut his throat. The examiner deemed it some kind of an animal attack, which kind of begs the question, was what he captured last on his phone the person or thing responsible? And if you want more scary stories this season, make sure to go check them out right on the podcast.
This Home Alone actor has pleaded guilty to a
something.
horrific crime. Devin Rattray became famous in the early 1990s as Buzz McAllister on the Home Alone films. He played Kevin's volatile and aggressive older brother on Home Alone 1 and Home Alone 2. He has now pleaded guilty on 2 counts of DV to avoid prison time. The now 47-year-old actor was accused of violence against a woman in December 2021. His girlfriend at the time reported him to police after he punched her in the face, covered her mouth with his hand, and also attempted to strangle her. She told police officers that the pair had gotten into an argument at a bar. She left to go back to their hotel room, and that is where the assault occurred. The police report says that he allegedly threatened the woman, saying, "This is how you die." He pleaded guilty to 1 count of domestic assault and battery by strangulation, and another count of domestic assault and battery. He has been ordered to do behaviour intervention plan classes and have a substance assessment. It goes without saying that he has also been banned from contacting the victim in this case.
These two mothers. It was our childhood, man. What's up with these actors, man? It's like once they hit their peak, bro, they just can't handle it, and they just turn to a completely different person. Home Alone, man. I wonder how many of our childhood movies, man, gets ruined each and every single year because of these actors, man. Sad thing.
Others in Las Vegas took their own lives 5 months apart from each other. And suspiciously, they had been fighting the Las Vegas Police Department over an alleged double homicide cover-up. And this double homicide had ties, allegedly, to a child sex trafficking ring. So this is Judge Melanie Andreas Tobiasen. She was 55 years old, and on January 20th, 2023, after stepping down from her position as a judge a year ago, she took a gun and ended her life in her $2 million Las Vegas mansion. And on the left here is Connie Land. Connie was Judge Melanie's 53-year-old friend. Her daughter, along with her boyfriend, who is alleged to be her pimp, were murdered in 2016. And on August 10th, 2022, after fighting for justice for 6 years for her daughter, Connie took her own life. Which means that both of these women are now dead. So let's step back to a year before the murders happened. At this point, Judge Melanie is tipping off local authorities about the presence of an underage sex ring that's operating in Las Vegas. She's going on podcasts trying to raise the alarm. She's writing this down on court documents. And eventually, Melanie met Connie. But why did Melanie meet Connie? Well, apparently, Melanie thought that a man named Sugar Shane Valentine
the same man that had tried to lure her own daughter into prostitution, was the man that murdered Connie's daughter and her alleged boyfriend Pimp. And this judge was a badass. She just wanted to find the truth and to expose this ring. She went on record one time and said that she went to Sugar Shane Valentine's house and kicked his door in asking for answers. And she even stated at one time that she had verbally threatened him because the police were not assisting her in her investigation whatsoever. She had presented the police with lots of evidence that this guy was involved in this sex trafficking ring. She knew that there were pedophiles linked to this ring that were directly profiting off of all of this. And she was passionate about finding the truth and protecting children. But unfortunately, a lot of times stories like this end in bizarre and strange circumstances. So apparently for a while before her death, Melanie had been telling loved ones of hers, "Remember, if I die, I didn't do it." She even told friends and family members that she was being followed. She knew she was being watched and she had been threatened. Apparently the hub for this sex trafficking ring was a clothing store called Top Notch. And the judge had tried to raise all these concerns about this store. Eventually, though, the store shut down because of a murder that occurred right out front, and the owner was arrested and sentenced to 45 years in prison for shooting and killing his own girlfriend, so obviously this was not a good place. She went on the record, though, and said that when she brought information about what was going on at Top Notch to the police, they ignored her. They said that they knew that places like this existed all over Vegas, but that they were kind of untouchable, and that it was dangerous for her to go down this path. Something bizarre is that a number of detectives in Las Vegas have been told that they've been told to forget about and lay off of child sex trafficking stings and operations. It's kind of scary to think of how much power these organizations have, and it is suspicious that these two women that were fighting for justice died from allegedly their own hands only months apart from each other.
That's a crazy story. Truly was some twists and turns I was not expecting at all. Seekers, if you guys made it with me to the end of the video, you're a true seeker seeking the truth. Thank you guys for joining me today. Make sure you guys comment down below. Hit that thumbs up button, man. Also hit that post notification bell so you always get notified when I upload my next videos. You guys are going to catch you in the next one, man. I'm out. Peace, YouTube.